Hostage. No.
Yeah, I think the thing's starting still. We live? Ah, yeah, we live still. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, let me wait for a couple of the people then to join in. Let me send the link to Abel still. Give me one sec. In the meantime. Abel, if you're locked in, check your email. Let me get the email link up. Where they from?
Yo.
Where they?
Who you talk? Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, me.
Okay, yeah. One sec. Shoot the link, brother. Man, like Abel. Abel give me joke, you know, he's soft spoken.
Okay. Simple.
My thing's moving. Yeah, Abel, you have it. Let's see what's going on now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Peace to pleb enforcement. First in the building. Yeah, man was saying, as I was saying before, man wanna go into pause. Man wanna go Mugabe.
Yeah.
Man don't do a necrophilia about yeah, you get me?
Indeed.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, man wanna study Mugabe um in relation to his impact on the region and the surrounding area, you get me? How we was
Yeah.
viewed, some of the rumors about him, see if they're true or not, you get me? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's make the truth more apparent, you get me? So
Yeah.
yeah, man, we saying you was talking about him going to Ghana to study on a scholarship, something like that.
Yeah. So you know this saying that he's the most studied so the most learned or qualified president
Yeah.
in African history. He's got bare degrees in it. Some of them he got actually apparently he got in prison, but yeah, this starts in the 1950s, yeah, when he's studying um in Ghana, yeah. So yeah, that's the long and short. That I don't know a whole heap about that aspect of his life, um, but he was a teacher though. He became a teacher. Um, yeah, that's one thing I do know. He became a teacher. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. We saying
You know?
he became a teacher in where in Zimbabwe.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So what did he go to Ghana to study?
I'm not entirely sure.
And when he came back, how old was he?
He came back in the 1960s. Yeah, so he'd have been about 40 something.
Okay.
Yeah,
We saying he never had a military career or nothing?
30 something, sorry, going on 40 something, then 40. But say again?
He never had a military career or nothing.
Not at this stage. He was more so obviously in liberation struggles, you generally find that the quote unquote the philosophers in terms of those who kind of chart the philosophical kind of ideals and ideas around which the revolution is waged, and then you have the more military. So I don't think it's true to say, sorry, when I say that, it's as well, more specifically, you have the political and then you have um, the, the military, yeah? So ZANU, the Zimbabwe African National Union, had a military wing, which was ZANLA, yes? The
Mm-hmm.
Zimbabwe African Liberation Army.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So so ZANU being the political kind of force, yeah, which is like we're formulating the government that we're fighting for. Yeah, that you know what I'm saying. And Zanla is therefore the the military kind of wing that's going to bring about, that's going to create the space for these people to form the government. I don't know if it's true to say that Mugabe was not military at all, but he
Mm.
was certainly less military. He was certainly more political in the political struggle than he was in the military.
So was he always a part of that party there? Was he things at UPF in it?
No, so what happened was, as I understand it, when he came back to Zimbabwe
Yeah,
with the education that he got
Ghana.
in Ghana, yeah, he began to involve himself in like civil unrest, protest, demonstration, that kind of vibration. I'm
What was the
saying,
people then protesting about them time?
um, they were protesting against more specifically, white minority rule and everything that came with that. So working conditions in the mines, you know what I'm saying, the education system, you know, yeah,
Okay.
um, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then as well, uh, socialism was a force, became a force on the continent as well. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So they didn't want capitalism to be governed under capitalism. Um,
We say most of the people
yeah,
them love socialism over there.
I don't know about most, but definitely those who were educated. Yeah, it became socialism because colonialism was considered to be a capitalist project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so many people, but at the same time, so for example, even with that, whilst many thought that socialism was a preferable form of government, they didn't want to get caught up in the Cold War. So the Cold War is raging at this time. This is post World War II, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and then Nkrumah was led this kind of push for African nations not to get involved in the war between Russia and America, basically, or the Western Europe and Eastern Europe, and these things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he went about that life. And so many African nations, whilst they promoted socialism, didn't want to get caught up in the Cold War. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Principal issue was
So
white minority rule.
yeah, yes, I'm gonna say so more like they was basically looking at socialism as something in opposition to capitalism, which they
Wait,
saw represented through
I'm back here for 60 seconds again, yeah? Well, okay.
mad thing. Hey, put your thing on mute, fam.
Wait, there's all what the chief is greeted.
Yo, hey yo, I put your thing on
Nice.
mute, fam.
Nice.
Let me see.
Is that me?
Yo, no, not you, not you.
I apologize.
Shaka around talking to you, man. Shaka, I don't know his thing's still loud, man. Hey, Shaka, are your thing still loud, you know? Yo, fam. Hey, yo. Hey, Shaka. Shaka, man can't even mute, man. Yo, your thing's still loud, you know, fam.
Yeah, it's not unusual.
Hey, yo, Abel.
You know what? I'm not over
Hey,
the
what I'm
last.
gonna do? Hey, what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna run my thing until man comes off the phone still, car. I wanna make man them air these loud conversations still. Yo, fam. Yo, Abel. Take your mic off mute, fam. Yo, brother. Take your mic off mute, fam.
Oh, sorry, brother.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
what you saying, fam?
yeah, we just show on now. Has it started or?
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the new channel,
Yeah,
Tark Da Tings Dem, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
yeah. I love the video that you did today. Still, and there's a couple brothers in the park that
Yeah,
are from
that
Zimbabwe.
was yesterday still. That
Okay,
was from yesterday still, yeah, but man posted it today still.
okay. There's a
Yeah.
couple. There's a couple Zimbabwe brothers in the park as well. You should talk to them.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Uh,
I don't think they need have cameras still. I asked them still, but yeah, I don't think they need have cameras still. I asked them.
oh,
Yeah, well, what's your old take on Mugabe though?
well, I would say a lot of black people, our people, are ignorant because a lot of us are running with the devil's narrative. that he was a dictator. He messed up their economy, things like that. And that's what happens when you get hit with a sanction. Now, the difference between him and, say, Libya, right? When Gaddafi started his revolution, or when he moved away from the beast, he had Egypt. They were sanctioned. They were away. They were running their own system. That's their neighbors. Then you have Iran, and you had Iraq, Syria. These countries were doing trades with them, and plus they were close because they're right next to Egypt. So they could still go out in the sea and still do trades. Now, unlike say Gaddafi, he was surrounded by countries that support the devil. So there was nothing that he could do. He was sandwiched. So that his we call it sanctioning was fire. You see what I'm saying? That's why his one was different. So you can't really compare Libya and Zimbabwe. You see what I'm saying? You can't compare what Gaddafi was doing and Mugabe, because you have to look at who's around you, who's next to you, and all the neighboring countries around Robert Mugabe. They all love the devil. They all serve the devil. Nubia, South Africa, they love the devil. So it's different. So people say, "Oh, well, he messed up the money. He messed up." Well, that's what happens when you're hit with a sanction. Anyone who does trades with you,
Have you heard?
you've been sanctioned.
Have you heard?
Let me just finish that though. Anyone when you get a sanction, any country who does business with that country, they get kicked out of the cabal of evil, the cabal of Satan, and they stop getting backup from the beast. You see what I'm saying? So if South Africa drain in, they're not gonna get no business. They're not gonna get no investment from Western influences. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's what happens. But go on, brother.
Have you heard anything about him supposed to have been licking down some of his own people? Have you heard anything about that?
Well, I've spoken to where I grew up, and I grew up with, like, what I've noticed. The stories through the years have changed. So the dark skinned brothers, they're usually for him, innit? Then you get the lighter skinned or the white, they're against him. Because a darker brother told me, who's from Zimbabwe, he told me, look, before, I said, how come is it that the dark skinned brothers are always for and they respect what Mugabe's trying to do, but then the lighter skinned or the lighter colored, and the whites, they're against him? And he said, well, you got to understand, when Mugabe came into power, they told me, this is what I heard from first-hand information, that when the devil came in, when Mugabe came in, he took away a lot of their wealth. You see what I'm saying? And they will run just like South Africa. They were running a caste system or apartheid type system. They had the same thing as Zimbabwe, as South Africa was doing. So they had color classes and different caste classes, and obviously the black was at the bottom. So a lot of those people. So if you notice, you have to look at the skin complexion of the brothers that's telling you bad things about Zimbabwe, and you have to look at if they were high class, depending on their class.
Are we saying more time when you hear those rumors about Mugabe licking down his own people, it's from light-skinned, high-class people?
Yeah, and I heard that they were telling lies. I heard it's a lie when they say couple brothers have told me from Zimbabwe. They told me, and I've even met brothers in South Africa from Zimbabwe, right? I've met poor brothers in South Africa that have told me that they want their president to do the same thing as Mugabe. You understand? So it's usually the dark-skinned brothers, the brothers who are most oppressed,
to do the same thing. What same thing? What
that support Mugabe, and they understand. some brothers said when they came to the UK, no, when they were in Zimbabwe, they thought it was better. It would have been better. But once they came over here, spent a couple years of education, they realized that, you know what, Mugabe was doing a good thing. So again, it's a lot of ignorance in the fact of you not being able to come out. You know, you've never been out of your space. So some brothers were happy when Mugabe was coming out because obviously they don't know what's going on. You see what I'm saying? They don't really know what's going on. So a lot of brothers was happy when Mugabe got took over, but at the end of the day, now he's run that into the ground.
You're talking about the brother who's running things now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, might check.
Yo, fam, what you saying? You're back?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been back. I was just letting the people speak. So I was letting you know.
Praises, all praises you. What you saying? What you saying to where was we before we cut off? We was talking about the ZANU PF and what's the other one? ZANU. ZANU.
No. Sorry. No, we're talking about ZANU now. ZANU PF is actually the actual merging between ZANU and ZAPU.
Okay.
Yeah. So ZAPU is the Zimbabwe African People's Union, and the ZANU is the Zimbabwe African Nationalist Union. Yeah. And so these two, and then they've had their frictions, but then when Zimbabwe got its independence in 1980, they formed ZANU PF, which is the Zimbabwe African Nationalist Union Patriotic Front.
Okay.
Yeah, ZANU PF. You know what I'm saying? But the long and short of it though is that the split in terms of ZANU and ZAPU was generally speaking along so-called ethnic lines. Yeah. So ZANU is Shona, ZAPU is Indebele. That's the long and short of it. So the leader,
so what are their reasons then for aligning, like one of them going with the Chinese and one of them going with the Russian?
When we say going with, it's more just the fact that when you're looking at revolutions,
that was getting arms and all them things there by them, innit?
Yeah, so it's just who they were collaborating with at a time, and at different points, different people had were ideologically more aligned, with certain people. So it's possible that that ZANU's relationship with China and them thing there was inspired to some degree by the Pan African Congress of Azania. It's possible. Is what I'm saying?
Okay.
And their allegiance, so that they inherited that. That relationship as a part.
So China and South Africa, they already had their relationship set before Zimbabwe and.
No, not China and South Africa. China and the Pan African Congress of Azania.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey. Yo, you're cracking up still.
Yeah. I don't know what that is still. Sorry, one sec. Let me close that. I got my hangouts window popping off, making up bare man still. Yeah. They already had a relationship, so they just saw. So we saying, so the Africans in Zimbabwe, they just saw their brothers in South Africa getting their arms and all them things and say, let me send that link there. Let me try get some of them arms there as well. He's saying something along those lines there.
So yeah.
I said the Zimbabwe and them, they saw their brothers in South Africa who made allegiance with the Chinese in order to get their artillery up and all them things there, and said, they want some of them artillery as well. Send us on it.
You're cracking up, Maggie.
Mad thing. I don't know what I'm going, Yo,
you're cracking up still.
Yo, I think it might be you, Shaka.
You said you can hear me.
I can hear you, but it's all mad.
Let me greet the brothers up here. Peace, Shaka. So
I don't know if it's just me. My brother Sahaka's in the building. I feel good.
Your righteousness, brother, scattered as well. Righteousness, brother, scattered.
Early at the first, Abel.
Respect everyone. Yo, can you hear me properly? Yeah, because it sounds like there's a little bit of a.
I can hear you still.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a little bit of a delay.
You said you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you fine, content.
It's you, Shaka, man.
All right, cool. Maybe when I move after this thing, but yeah, all right. Let's press forward in it. Let's press forward.
Yeah.
You get me?
All right,
Far whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just China. So remember, China and North Korea have a relationship.
Yeah.
And the North Korea relationship is going to become very important in the story as it goes forward. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Obviously, when it comes to Zappo, them being aligned with Russia also meant that they were more aligned with Cuba because Cuba would say Russia was supporting Cuba. Yeah, and these things. All right. Now, in broad terminologies, yeah. And this is again, it's not as simple as this, but in broad terms, that ideological split can be characterized in the sense of the fact that because China and places like North Korea have a strong emphasis on a nationalist culture, you know what I'm saying? Whereas people that are more aligned with Russia and then places there were more supposedly hardline communists. Yeah. So whereas China had they were supposed to be socialists, but they had a strong emphasis on Chinese culture. You know what I'm saying? So Pan-Africanists who are more culturally inclined often appreciated the cultural nationalism of China. You see what I'm saying? So that's that. But yeah, as I said, but principally though, and probably in some ways more critically, the Pan-African Congress of Azania was more aligned with ZANU, and the African National Congress, which is the government in power in South Africa today, was more aligned with ZAPU.
All right then. And when that's cool. So I'm confused now on when my man Mugabe came back to Zimbabwe, where it was Rhodesia after his education, and did he go straight into the political party? Or what?
So, as I understand it, the story is that he began to be involved in protests and demonstrations, strike action, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but was he acting as an independent, or was he part of the organization?
Just a part of the masses of the people.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe he begins to be a target. Yeah, and from the state. And he escapes to Mozambique, and I believe it's in Mozambique where he becomes a member of ZANU.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who established ZANU and ZAPU?
Good question. I believe Joshua Nkomo started ZAPU. I don't think Mugabe started ZANU, but he became a leading member of it.
Okay.
Yeah. But I could be slightly incorrect on those facts. But I'm relatively sure that Mugabe did not found ZANU, but he became a leading member.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he joins it because basically what it is that Mozambique was came to be under the influence of Samora Machel. Mozambique, was also fighting the liberation war, and Tanzania, under Julius Nyerere. And so for Southern Africa and East Africa, many people got their training in Mozambique or Tanzania because they were safer havens. You could basically they waged their war from Mozambique and Tanzania. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think I'm correct in saying it was Mozambique where Mugabe becomes a member of ZANU.
And when did he go? I heard he went prison as well for like 11 years or something.
Yeah, that was in the 60s into the 70s. Yeah. So so basically he's I believe the charge was sedition. He spent about 11 years in jail.
Sedition.
Because of his political activity.
Was that talking against the government or something?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
You said he got 11 years for that. So yeah, cause he sounded mad. I listened to his accent and them thing there. Still, he had that proper Queen's English. Them time there, you get me?
Yeah, man was a well-educated dude. You know what I'm saying? And apparently he held on to a lot of a significant taste for for British etiquette.
Yeah.
To a degree, you know what I'm saying? But yeah.
And what you saying? So he the way he was speaking, what he was gaining a large following or something.
Say that again.
Was he gaining a large following through the way he was speaking? Or made them look him up?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. So who looked him up now?
Ian Smith, yeah, was the
Ian
president
Smith.
of Zimbabwe at the time.
1964, Ian Smith succeeds Winston
Yeah,
Field as
so
Prime
basically
Minister.
another devil, just like
Abel.
just like what's his name?
Abel.
Bro, what's your chief? Bro, I could never call my brother Abel a devil.
No. I thought you meant call it. I thought you was calling him a devil like how my man calls them devil.
Oh no, yeah, I am. No, Ian Smith was the devil incarnate. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, a true Rhodesian. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, proper Rhodesian guy. One
second. Let me just drop the timeline facts here what they got for 1964. So the Ian Smith succeeds Winston Field as Prime Minister. Southern Rhodesia becomes Rhodesia. November, a referendum held on the 5th on the question of Rhodesian independence results in a majority of qualified voters in favour. So yeah, so I don't understand what's happening all of there still. Southern Rhodesia becomes Rhodesia. Why is that?
Because you remember you had Northern Rhodesia and Southern Rhodesia. Yeah. Zambia got its independence.
Okay.
So there was no more Northern Rhodesia.
My bad. Before that, 1963 says June, the British government announced any territory is allowed to break away from the federation. Why is that?
Well, because all the African nations are pushing for independence, isn't it?
Okay.
So and the long and short of it, if as Malcolm X will tell the story, is that Britain didn't want a repeat of what happened in Kenya, because the Mama went on a rampage and started to kill white folks and slit white throats.
Okay.
And yes, and that kind of energy was threatening to sweep through the continent, especially in the British colonies, especially as well because Britain was already weakened by the fact that it had lost India as a colony. I'm saying because of the machinations of Gandhi and others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, all that as well. Mugabe was more a fan of Gandhi than Mao. Chairman
yeah,
Mao.
I've heard that. I've definitely heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know what the extent or the evolution of that was, but I've definitely heard it.
Yeah.
Well, most of them things is probably garbage, bro.
1965, May, RF wins all A row seats. It says July, independence negotiations begin. London talks break down because independence based on 1961 constitution is not acceptable to Britain. Well, go on.
Yes. So basically, ZANU and ZAPO are pushing for political independence. Yeah. So a lot of nations went for into negotiations with the government.
Yeah.
Negotiations continue to fail principally because so when you watch footage on Zimbabwe or Mugabe, one of the most famous clips that you will see is a white man saying, "I don't believe in black majority rule in Zimbabwe ever." That's Ian Smith.
Okay, yeah? The president, yeah, Prime Minister,
of the country at the time, yeah. So he had no interest in this thing called black majority rule. He was not about it at all.
Okay,
yeah. It's to continue. So along with and at this point, the fight in Zimbabwe is heavily linked, as I was saying before, to the fight in South Africa, where PW Botha is on the scene. All right, and both of these men are some belligerent white men, yeah. They're not in no negotiation, no argument. They're white supremacists to the core, and they're proud of it.
We saying they're ruling with the iron fist.
With the iron fist, the iron white fist.
Give me some of the atrocities what they're keeping up.
Well, so the ones in South Africa are more well known. Things like the Soweto uprising, where the government tried to force the so-called Afrikaans language, which is basically the Dutch language, on the people there. And the students kind of rose up, and the government sent the police and the army to just kill off hundreds of children, basically. That was 1976. Yeah. So in fact, my son was born on the 16th of June, and that's the date, 1976, 16th of June the Soweto uprising. And so one of the leading figures in that uprising was a young man by the name of C.X.C. Mashinini. So my son had the name Mashinini because he named after him. So a bit of Shaka trivia there. But yeah, what's it called? But so yeah, that's one. You know what I'm saying? But there are many. The past laws. Much of what you could attribute to South Africa, you could attribute to Zimbabwe. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It says the past laws and then kind of thing there. Poor work conditions at the mines in Zimbabwe. What becomes particularly like there's that you find stories of people's family members that's going missing.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And nobody could account for them. Like they don't know where the people are there. You know what I'm saying? Yes, all kinds of things. All kinds of things. Just general shaggery. The levels, general levels of shaggery as related to enslavement.
It says Prime Minister Harold Wilson flies to Salisbury to discuss Rhodesian independence. November. Unilateral declaration of independence made on the 11th. Clifford DuPont is appointed officer administering the government. Britain declares this action illegal and bans trade with Rhodesia. So what happened now? Some in-house beef. So
Harold Wilson is actually the Prime Minister of Britain at the time.
Yeah,
he's the guy who says there's a speech. The winds of time are blowing through. The winds of change are blowing through that continent. That speech there, right? That's Harold Wilson.
Basically, on the rise, and we can know. Yeah.
What was that? His anti-colonialism speech.
Say that again.
Was that anti-colonialism speech or something?
It's more like a warning to the British establishment that, listen, these Africans ain't really going to sit down and just have this thing.
We need to change our tactics.
Basically, any further. But I think Scott can probably break that down better than I can. So let him go.
Come in, Scott.
Nah, I mean, probably not, to be fair. I think he's doing a pretty good job. I mean, that's basically it. It's like, that was the period of understanding, and especially because Harold Wilson was coming from the Labour Party, and the Conservative had a very much, we're going to fight to keep our empire kicking, screaming until the end, where Labour was very much, there's a step change in how they felt like how the empire needed to go. They was on this sort of quote unquote universal brotherhood of socialism, but let's not kid ourselves. It was with the British on the top still. Do you know what I mean? But they felt I need to shift it to a different dimension. And so you had this new Labour government coming in, understanding that black nationalism was rising across the continent in the Caribbean and so on. And like he says in the speech, we can't fight anymore. We need to change our tactics, go towards more of a managing basically these places from a distance while giving them home rule. And basically just pretty much that they couldn't deny it. And I think after that period, you have the sort of decline of the empire and the civil servant, nothing quoted as saying, that period was pretty much managing the decline of the empire, basically, so we didn't fall too quickly and too far down the ladder.
Yeah. All right, so cool. So someone break down how the Britain and the people that who was controlling Rhodesia at the time got into arms house. How they start beefing?
Yeah, because the whites that was controlling the country, they wanted fairer trade. They wanted fairer trade like what we want today. Same thing with the white man, the white immigrants that were in South Africa. They wanted fairer trade.
But when they trading on behalf, like when they like the British themselves, like on behalf of the British, them time there.
Yeah, but I think principally because I think the majority of it because of what Scott said before. So Harold Wilson was a Labour guy who was more liberal in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah, they wanted to change tactics. The Conservatives at that time, they were interested in changing the tactics.
Okay, so probably the Rhodesian, the brother who was in control of Rhodesia felt like my man are trying to give them away too much, too early.
Right. Right.
Cause like you said before, he said that you don't never see no time when black people can run this thing.
He's not on it. Yeah, he's not about that life.
Okay.
No. Remember during World War
Are you saying
One.
no to that? What you saying? You disagree with that?
Yeah. Let me say, because man just cut in. I'm saying, yeah. I just want to get this straight first with you brothers, right? And I just want to see if you lot agree with my statement, because I can know what levels you lot are on, right? So I'm saying, yeah, that independence of these Commonwealth countries or countries underneath Britain, right? This so-called independence for like the Caribbean and African nations is a lie, yeah. It's just a way for the beast, yeah, to hide their hand. You understand? Because they've had the nations for hundreds of years, and by now we would have been fighting against the real enemy. But they just come up with this independence thing, yeah, and these brothers pushing the idea, this so-called independence. It was only meant, yeah, so that the beast could hide their hand. You understand? Because when we look at all these independent nations, right, but that got independence from the British, it was the beast who put these guys in power. You understand? Or gave them the influence with their money and let them, push it across the country. So do we agree that independence is only a lie for the beast, yeah, to hide their hand, their hidden hand of control in black countries? So that
Yes, bro, we agree.
okay.
But
So what I'm saying,
I don't understand how come you're disagreeing with Shaka Rock. He said that we was discussing the disagreement between the people them who was in Britain as Prime Minister of Britain,
right,
that had with the people them that was on the island that was representing them, that was saying that we want to separate from Britain now.
Right.
That's what we were discussing, the reasons behind that.
Right, yeah, and I'm yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just wanted to know. I never said I disagree.
Now you did say you disagree still. I asked you.
No, I never disagreed with that. I'm just saying I want to know what levels, how we see things. Just so. Now I'm saying that during World War I and II, right, the people of Rhodesia, the whites of Rhodesia and South Africa, they were hesitant to go to war. You understand? And the Queen takes that seriously. That's why you could say the Irish get into a lot of problems now, because they refuse to go and fight in World War I and II. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like that's the reason why they're trying to break them down. Now look, they already knew that Mugabe was going to kick out those whites. Mugabe said in many interviews that the British government, when he had interviews with Davenport and different of these big, these big European presenters that are from the UK to Channel 4 and that, I've been watching the man over many times over the years, and he says that the British knew that he was going to do that. But what the problem was, he kicked out the Jew boys.
The next station
Once he kicked out the Jew boys, that's when it became fire on him, and he took away their control of the resources of the country. You see what I'm saying?
We're gonna get into that stage. We're gonna get into. Cause I don't want to skip ahead and miss out.
We ain't going too far.
We are. I'm trying to keep a timeline from before Mugabe was even on the scene up to him coming onto the scene. Right now we're onto him coming onto the scene. You get me? What the environment was like. We're gonna get into that though. So we're gonna end up going over the same thing more than once. You get me? But
I'm just using another example, brother. I'm just using the example of Idi Amin, right? Idi Amin was empowered by the British to kick out the aliens, right? And once he started getting rid of the Jews, that's when it was fire on him. You see what I'm saying? Because he found the book of the Elders of Zion. You understand? The protocols of the Elders of Zion. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to say it's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Hold that point. I'm gonna ask you more about that still. But I don't want to do it now though, cause we're gonna get sidetracked and lose track of what the chat was started for. But if that's what you're saying, is the reason what you're saying, that's the reason why come they started switching on Mugabe, because he started moving to Jews.
Yeah, once he got rid of the bankers and that.
Alright,
once
cool.
he got rid of that, it was
we're gonna look into that when we reach that point there still. But like I said, right now, man was on the we wanted to look at the reasons why the people them who was ruling on behalf of the British, like the white people them that was ruling on behalf of the British, the Prime Minister of Rhodesia what was his name? Ian Smith.
Yeah.
Ian Smith. Why he was getting in beef with the actual Prime Minister of Britain, Harold Wilson, in terms of independence. So far, Harold Wilson was saying, boom, he was recognizing, as you said, that speech that he made, that we can't cling on to power how we've been clinging on to power because it's not working out in our favor. People that are uprising and licking us down. We need to work of ways of how to still like hold on to as much power as we can, but with giving them like folding into some of their demands at least, basically. If I'm right with that. So and the brother on the ground was like, I don't want them. What did he say? He said, Shaka, he don't want them. He don't never see no time when black people gonna ever rule over their own land.
He doesn't believe in black majority rule ever in Zimbabwe.
Okay, so basically that's what they're beefing over.
Again, I'm not an expert on the specifics between Britain and one thing I can say though is that in South Africa and Zimbabwe, like the white people that were there started to rule them as their own nations more. It's like they became.
We say that's like how America got turned into America though, and like
basically, yeah.
They start living a certain way away from home. After a certain period of time and start feeling like sending their own money to Britain, you know.
Yeah.
No, I don't really see. We said in America it was no taxation without representation, isn't
it? Basically, you know, it's a similar type of development. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And Britain, they was like, rah, we can't be fighting like our own people. We ain't got enough troops. Like these are our troops. Furthermore, they're representing us in those areas. If they're saying that they're looking to go to war with us, you can't bring people from America. They're beefing us as well. You can't bring people from South Africa. They're beefing us as well.
Remember, the British had a lot of arguments with their with the white immigrants that they sent over there. Remember, we had the Boer Wars 1 and 2, the Transvaal Wars in South Africa. There's been many wars between the British and the whites that they sent over. You understand? Because they didn't like the way that the British were just coming in there doing what they liked.
Cool. We in 1965 now. So it says British Prime Minister Harold Wilson flies to Salisbury to discuss Rhodesian independence. It says November, unilateral declaration of independence, UDI, made on the 11th. Clifford DuPont is appointed officer administering the government. Britain declares this action illegal and bans trade with Rhodesia. So they've separated now in 1965, and they're doing their own thing separate from Britain.
Basically, but within all of that though, because again, like some of the specifics of this are not present in my head, But you've got the two. So you've got Joshua Nkomo, and there are who is the leader of something called the National Democratic Party or something like NDP, and something else. And in the midst of all this, there are back and forth negotiations going on between the revolutionary or would-be revolutionary leaders, the Rhodesian government, so-called, and the British government. And some of the movement starts to split into factions because Joshua Nkomo agreed to some deal, that would allow.
Who's Joshua Nkomo?
So he's at this time he is an Indebele, the leader of the Indebele people, if that makes sense, in revolutionary people. But he's also the leader of a thing called the National Democratic Party or something like that. NDP is the acronym. Yeah. Okay. And so he's trying to push for black majority rule. The British give him some deal about that allows the black majority to be represented in a certain amount of the seats. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He agrees to this deal, but there are many among the people that disagree with that, and so it causes a split. Yeah. Okay. In the movement, and so out of that, this is now when we get to ZANU and ZAPU and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All of that ain't really listed. They're more talking about on this thing here what I'm reading from. They're more talking about they're talking about the history from a British perspective, even though it looks like it's Zimbabwe.
No, it's not. What I'm saying is not disconnected to what you're saying. I'm just saying that that's the context of what. Yeah. So basically, the point is that there's this back and forth negotiation going on, yeah, between revolutionary leaders on the one hand and the colonizers on the other hand,
So
back and forth, back and forth.
So
Some
you're saying
people,
it's some big in-house beef. The people them who's like on the whole, like the black people them who's native to the area,
yeah,
ultimately they want to rule their own thing as much as they can.
yeah, yeah,
But among themselves, some of them are saying it don't look realistic that we're ever gonna get full autonomy. So let's compromise. And
right.
they're
At this
beefing
stage,
amongst the people at that
this
stage.
is the best thing we're gonna get at this moment. You know what I'm saying? You get me?
Okay.
That kind of feeling. Some people are uncompromising. So it's causing splits here. And again, some of the details of all of this are sketchy in my head. So I'm not going to speak to them too
Alright.
in case I'm incorrect. Yeah. But yeah, that's the basic short of it. But the long and short of all of that is at some point, basically, like armed rebellion is the only solution. The man was going to some armed rebellion business.
Mm-hmm. Let me bring the timeline up. See if it lists that where that starts popping off still. So it says 1966, British and Rhodesian prime ministers meet on HMS Tiger to discuss settling their dispute. The United Nations imposed selected mandatory sanctions on Rhodesia. So why is the United Nations against?
I can't remember what the situation was there. I can't remember.
I said, what are you saying, Scott? You don't know why I'm going for that? Why United Nations choosing Britain against the newly established Rhodesia? White rule.
Well, you got to remember, yeah, that the guys in as in the United Nations. Sorry, go on, brother. Did you want to say to say that? I'm saying that the guys in United Nations it's the British that started up the United Nations. Remember that. So obviously they got direct links to the whole goddamn thing.
We said the British started the United Nations.
Of course they did.
It was all of Europe, really, but yeah, the British had a key role in it, as in America.
They're the front runners of Europe, brother.
Yeah, that's it.
You get me? Front runners. So them man, they started up the United Nations. Now it might say something different.
When was the United Nations started again?
In 1940 something, 43, 45, 47.
After World War II, innit?
After World War II.
After World War II, innit?
Yeah.
1945 or something like that. And right now we're in 1966, the United Nations imposed selective mandatory sanctions against Rhodesia. So that means that the United Nations is like a kind of a relatively fresh organization, and they're saying, yeah, for real, obviously the Rhodesian, that them people there who try to make Rhodesia independent and separate even from Britain, they obviously weren't in no United Nations. So yeah, I can see why they're gonna be looking out against them.
Yes, brother. The other day, Kofi Annan was the United Nation the head of the United Nations. He didn't do a goddamn thing for Africa. These guys are controlled, bought and paid for. Everyone in the UN are bought and paid for by the bankers, bro. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. They've always been bought and paid for by the bankers. You see what I'm saying? That's how it's always been, bro.
1967 says June. Lord Allport comes to Rhodesia to try and break the deadlock. Said November, the British Commonwealth Secretary General Arnold Smith has talks with Ian Smith. Says 1968, May, the United Nations imposed selective mandatory comprehensive sanctions on Rhodesia. We're saying they up their thing.
Basically.
October, British and Rhodesian prime ministers meet on the HMS Tiger for new talks to settle the dispute. Says 1969, June, a referendum on a new constitution to decide if Rhodesia should become a republic. June, Sir Humphrey Gibbs resigns as governor of Rhodesia. November, the new constitution becomes law. So what are you saying? So it looks like this. So who's Sir Henry Gibbs now?
Henry Gibbs.
Sir Henry Gibbs. He resigns as governor of Rhodesia. So he come like.
So the governor is generally the person who's representing the Queen.
Innit?
Yeah. On the land.
So I'm saying it's looking like So it's for him, but for them to already declare independence separate of Britain, I don't know why he still got any type of standing there in the first place.
Yeah, because the Queen.
I would have thought from the independence gets declared from Britain and they're breaking away, they're doing their own thing, then he would have got run out as well, or he's taking sides.
Well, I think that's probably what they're saying is precipitating his standing down. Basically, the government's going with their own thing. My position is untenable. Like, God.
Yeah.
That's the vibration.
So I come like the Rhodesian nucleus of power is getting tightened and they're shuffling up their thing and getting rid of.
Obviously, the British was gonna wean the countries off first. They wanted to see if the leader can be trusted. So obviously, they'll have their man still there. I mean, that's why they got embassy. That's why they got rid of Kwame Nkrumah. You know what I mean? And other leaders who was what's his name? Thomas Sankara. Was it Thomas Sankara? You would know his name.
Thomas Sankara.
Sankara, yeah. That's why they got rid, and they could get rid of them man there so quick. Just as soon as they got power, they got rid of them. Because they just wanted to see if they were going to do their bidding. You understand? Because the beat up all these guys get their education. You know what I mean? It was about, you know, the Beast got a lot of these guys their education and got them into the power that they are.
You talking about people indigenous to the land, like Africans that start to get study under the British and rule the country on their behalf. Yo,
I missed that, yo.
Yeah, man.
Yo,
I can't even good, you know.
I missed that.
Shaka, mute yourself quickly, brother, because you know I'm hearing a lot of the things.
Sorry.
Yo, Abel, was you saying that? Was you referring to the people that are native to the lands of Africa that go and study under the British and come back and rule parts of Africa on behalf of the British?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, because but we're talking about the man who started off as the British representative from Britain that came to Rhodesia and was ruling on behalf of on behalf of Britain, but decided to separate and do his own thing. That's what we're talking about now.
Okay.
Yeah. So it says in November, the new constitution becomes law. Says,
again, like I said, my knowledge on them specifics, the back and forth there is but yeah.
So basically, it's looking like the people them on the island that's been in power, who's been administering power and police and military or whatever. It come like they must have all been loyal to the brother, what's his name? Ian Smith. They must have been all loyal to Ian Smith.
Oh yes, of course.
Because from saying the new constitution becomes law, only it says only the governor general was the only man that left the thing. Resigns. He's the only man that I see. Well, that's the only thing noted here still. That's the only man that resigns. So it come like the people them. He must have been charismatic to the people them that was on the island. You get me?
Well, he wanted them to get a fair shake. You get me?
What you talking about?
He wanted, because you gotta understand when a lot of these
He wanted who? What are you talking about? Who wanted who to get a fair shake?
Look, he wanted the British, to pay for the resources, to pay a realistic fee for the resources. That's the whites that were there, the immigrants, whites, They wanted to they were in that country. They wanted the British to pay them right, treat them right. You know what I mean? Like, don't be just coming to the country.
We saying all of the resources that he was sending out to sell to the British or on behalf of the British, he wanted a bigger cut, is what you're saying?
Well, not him. What he wanted, the whites. He wanted the country to have a bigger cut, right? He wanted to get more money. Like, he didn't want the exploitation.
You got sources.
Obviously,
just saying how big this work
for the black people, though.
Huh?
Not for the black people. For those whites, because those whites are there.
The ruling class of whites that was there,
Yeah, and it was them against the British, and then that's why they put Mugabe in. They groomed Mugabe to put him in power to take away the land from them remorselessly. You understand? But
You said that you wanted you're saying the reasons he started beefing the British, Ian Smith started beefing the British is because he wanted a better cut of the
Right.
resources. Have you got sources? Have you got sources for that, or are you just speculating how business works?
You can see that up, brother. You can see old 1970s clips, 1970s LW ITV, yeah, debates on Zimbabwe, yeah, because I seen some like a couple years ago. You can get some. I downloaded them as well.
Yeah.
Some LWT old shit
What are they
from
saying?
ITV from the 70s when they were debating just before Mugabe got in power, where they're debating it. You can get old documentaries of how on the internet as well, on YouTube, which is all on YouTube.
What are you saying that was the reason that they was listening for the split. That my
Right.
man wanted a bigger cut, and the British weren't trying to give him the
Because
fee that he was asking for.
Right. They wanted the same thing as they were in league with the South African whites. That's both of them wanted that, and plus both of them were playing games where they did help.
Shaka was saying earlier though that the reason for the split was that the British was recognizing that all around Africa, all of their colonies, not even just Africa, around the world, the people then was rising up, and like especially he referred to the Mau Mau uprising when they was busting throat, and said, "Rah, like that's the direction it's gonna go if you try and hold on to power the same way, innit?" So it not necessarily that they were saying that they wanna increase taxes on whatever it is that they was exporting from Rhodesia. It was more the thing of that they want to give more power to the natives, or make them at least feel like they're in more sense of control. Because if they don't, then they're gonna get their throat, but it's gonna be warfare, innit?
Well, that is definitely what Shaka's saying as well is a reality as well. The white man understands that if he keeps on ruling, yeah, and with and putting his face,
Iron fist.
we keep on seeing his face and we're living in shit, yeah, we're gonna come for him. You understand? So again, that and that, there's many there's many a reason. There's a good few reasons. That's another reason, and
because,
the white man wanted fair trading from. They wanted the British to pay them right, and they didn't want to be paying certain taxes to the British anymore as well. Just like happened in the American Civil War.
And just to clarify, so you know the reason our comments asking for sources and all them thing there, because when man started this thing, I think I even put it in the description as well.
I'll look at some sources right now, brother.
Yeah, I specified that the point of the show is to establish the facts in it, and not really look at the thing from an emotional standpoint or a moral standpoint of what's right or wrong. Man can discuss that after still, but really, I just wanted to establish what the facts are of the situation, so that when we refer to these things, when we give our opinion on these things, it's our opinions based upon like substantial evidence-based claims that we're making, rather than just we think it might be this way because that's how it's always been, or we think it might be this way because that's their nature, or anything like that. I want to increase the critical thinking level of the people them that's tuning into shows like this. You get me? And as I said, make arguments based upon provable information. You get me?
Well, we know that the every country, even the white countries that didn't want to fight in World War I and II, we can look at them now. Look at Ireland. You see what I'm saying? So, like, at the end of the day, everything I'm saying is facts. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying that there's speculation though. What you just said there about Ireland. I'm saying like I want to see the sources of what your claims are based upon, or I want to know what your claims are based upon.
Right. Oh,
even if that's the case for Ireland, it don't, like you might say like according to that being the case in Ireland, it's safe to say that it's going to be the case elsewhere if that's their pattern of doing things. But I'm saying I want to go beyond that. I want to say what was the actual reasons and the causes in the area that we're discussing, regardless of what was happening in the island. That might be the case with the limited knowledge that we got, but why we got the opportunity to do research, because we ain't in no rush, we ain't going nowhere. Why we got the opportunity to do research and get the sources of the actual information we're discussing. Let's do that. You get me? So then we ain't got to depend on speculation. Everything we're talking is like provable. Anybody who's gonna come with counter arguments, man can like, unless they can bring some better information, and they can back it up, that we can look at their sources and see the validity of it. If they ain't gonna do that, then we can dismiss their claims. You get me?
Right.
So yeah. So,
well, you know, when we're dealing with these sorts of stuff, right? We gotta understand that a lot of the sources, when we're dealing with these prime ministers and so-called dictators from other countries, yeah, well, most of the information we're going by is from the beast. Now, you might have a one radical brother that might write the truth, yeah, but you might only have one man writing that truth, and you might have 20 mans talking down on the brother. You see what I'm saying? Now, I'm a man that one man.
History is told by the victor.
Right. But I'm a man not going with the victor's information. I'm going with that one man that lived in a country and that's saying something good about the brother, rather than me listening to the 20 other mans when I see that these mans are bought and paid for by the beast.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, I think it's best to look at all of the sources as much as we can and form our opinion after we've considered the credibility, the likelihood, and we what's the word? We cross-examine things. We check this fact according to that fact. You know, like that, fam. Like I feel like the more angles we look at a thing from, is the better our perspective will be, in it. Like our overall picture of the thing will be. You get me? So my thing is listen to anybody who's making claims about them having facts, and this, you don't mean that man have to take it as gospel. I'm a man, like, no disrespect to spiritualists and religious people. I don't stand on that. You get me? My thing is, I'm looking for as much proof as I can. I question everything. You get me? I'm a man that asks questions until I fall asleep. You get me?
All I'll say to the people, yeah. I would say to the people, be careful of anything that comes out of the BBC, Sky.
It's definitely
a bag of rubbish, bro. You need to talk to the people, brothers and sisters who live out there under the rain, and let them tell you it's my experience, because I've got this stuff and I'm in my era. So what I'm saying here is that a mixed race.
I say one sec, Abel, one sec. Hey, yo, who's mic's that? Hey, Shaka, I think there's bear rays in the background in your mic.
Oh, sorry. Let me mute myself here.
Yeah, go on, Abel.
It's very rare that you'll find I've never found it's very rare you'll find a black brother talking bad about Robert Mugabe unless they're wealthy. You see what I'm saying? So unless they come from a wealthy family, from my experience of brothers and sisters that lived in the country under the regime, you understand?
Okay.
And like I said, I've been to South Africa. Hold on, brother. Again, I've been to South Africa, and all the brothers that are living in the like who live in the townships and that, them brothers are saying that they wish that their prime minister or president was as brave as Robert Mugabe. Now the rich ones, the rich South Africans, now they might not be, the ones who are more wealthy, middle class, they won't be for Mugabe. They'll say, well, he just give someone else a chance. So you'll get two, but the poor man's.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. You're making it evident that they've got motives of saying that because they're rich and all that. and
Right.
the poor people, they want their situation to improve, so they're gonna be in favor of Mugabe. But my thing is like I don't think nobody's got a monopoly on the truth. You get me? So as I said, I will be more inclined to like what's the word I'm looking for? Like innately, I'll be more inclined to believe the man who's got nothing to lose, who's just telling his thing, telling his story, than a man who's like bound by bare obligations. You get me?
Right.
But I'm not just gonna just because that's my inclination. I'm not just gonna go with it as if it's gospel. I'm gonna do my own research as much as I can because otherwise, man's just opening myself up to anybody who's black or anybody who's poor. That man have to just go with what they're saying just because of that. Man's like man know about COINTELPRO and all them things there. You get me? They will send people that's seemingly sympathetic to man's cause and say two nice words and look like man, but these times they're working for what you would call the beast. You get me?
Right.
They're working against man, and they know that our weakness that we got is that we're inclined to be accepting and believing of somebody who looks like us and sounds like us and is saying what we want to hear. You get me?
Not really.
Rather than doing our own research. That's how man get infiltrated from.
That's true. That's true. But someone was saying in there, pleb, he was saying about, well, from what I know from brothers that were in, well, I know this is facts here, that Zimbabwe is the most literate country in Africa.
That's what I
right?
heard still.
And we call it now how he dealt with welfare. Asked the brother that, a couple brothers from there. I said, how did he handle the poor? He said what he would do every year would give 50,000 seeds to families, so that's how they stayed awake. No one was hungry. You understand? So he would give people 50,000 seeds every season to go and plant and get their own food. So that's how we dealt. Like how we got our welfare system, gyro, whatever. That's what he had out there. He would give the people seeds to plant every year. You understand? He would come around with a bag of seeds. It was mainly from brothers who lived there. Because this is the best people to go to. People that actually lived there under the regime.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So the brother told me, what was I gonna bring up now?
You're talking about the Zimbabwean brethren that you was chatting to.
Yeah. I've spoken to many a brother from Zimbabwe. That's it. When I went to South Africa, met a lot of South African brothers. I mean Zimbabwe brothers from Zimbabwe that were immigrants in the country, and I always talk about politics with brothers. I mean, when I went to I went to South Africa.
So why did they leave out of Zimbabwe and go to South Africa?
Because of the economics. They just thought like it was better for them.
But what you saying? But they still rate Mugabe.
Yeah, they still rate Mugabe because they just understand that they need to make money and stuff like that. So they just left, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? But I don't. I think he just came out at that stage. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, like
what's that? 2017.
Wait, what one brother told me? He said it's like when you're there, you want to get out because you don't know any better, innit? And you're hearing stuff about the West and how much it's better
You're
and
saying
stuff.
grass is green on the other side.
Yeah, so that, and then it's only when they come out here they realize it ain't shit out here. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of the brothers tell me that. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's what they realize.
Let me continue on with the timeline thing that man's reading from still. So it says in 1969, a referendum on a new constitution to decide if Rhodesia should become a republic. June, Sir Humphrey Gibbs resigns as governor of Rhodesia. November, the new constitution becomes law. 1970, March, Rhodesia declares itself a republic. In April, RF win the general election with Ian Smith as prime minister. April, Clifford DuPont sworn in as Rhodesia's first president. May, Rhodesia's first Republican Parliament opens. That's all in 1970. 1971, June. Lord Goodman arrives for talks. Who's Lord Goodman? Hey, Shaka, you know what that brother is?
No, I'm not sure, but obviously when they say Republican government, they're talking about no longer under
the British monarchy and
yeah, right. You know what I'm saying?
fully separated.
So yeah, I don't know who Goodman is though.
Yeah, he's come from Britain to come and try to still sweet talk the thing.
Yeah,
Get me?
yeah.
Again?
Lord Goodman.
Okay, let me look him up.
On November, the British Foreign Secretary Sir Alec Douglas Home arrives to discuss settlement proposals. So that's the British people them who want to leave from Rhodesia and settle somewhere else. Is that what we're talking about?
I'm not sure.
And November, Ian Smith.
But settlement though is a legal terminology, so it's probably referring to the settling the dispute. You know what I'm saying? That proposal for settling whatever.
Okay, let's see. It says November, Ian Smith and Sir Alec Douglas Home sign an agreement for settlement proposals. In 1972, January, Affairs Commission arrives to carry out a test for acceptability for the settlement proposals. May, Affairs Commission finds the settlement terms are not acceptable to the broad majority of people in Rhodesia. Man, I have to look up where these settlement proposals are still.
That's how research man's got to do still.
Yeah. Let me do a quick search, man.
But I believe though it's the following year where the man then decided to pick up the gun.
Guerrilla warfare is the first line in the next one still.
Say again.
I said guerrilla war is the next line, is the first line in the next thing. 1973, guerrilla war against white rule intensifies, with rivals ZANU and ZAPU operating out of Zambia and Mozambique.
Yeah.
So why does it say rivals now? Why they got them down as rivals?
Well, yeah, I think rivals may be a strong word. There was definitely friction between them at this point. Well, actually, I don't know. It depends. It depends on how you look at it. So remember what I was saying before about the different motivations and then the different ideologies and some people settled for this agreement and others didn't agree with it and it caused factionalism. Yeah. Now,
I wouldn't necessarily call that a rat, like in terms of disagreeing on how much power we should give to them. So I wouldn't call that a rival.
Might be a strong word. You know what I'm saying? But definitely at this point, like they were in the late 1800s, in the late 1890s, everybody was together fighting the white people. Then, that was a long and short of it. You know what I'm saying? But they had their differences among them. You know what I'm saying? In that regard, that's just the long and short of it. At that stage, you know. And again, remember, a lot of this now is still split along so-called ethnic lines, isn't it?
Okay.
So the majority
also you know already that especially at them time there for colonization and everything there, it was a tactic. Well, this is what I'm airing anyway. But right now I'm talking speculation still.
Yeah.
You know.
Like you're not incorrect in the sense of the fact that like there's a number of nations whereby
highlight the differences among people in order that you can divide them and rule in.
Right, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of this stuff begins because people that had their own land were now their own national borders, so to speak, were disregarded for the sake of facilitating colonialism. Yeah, so now they've got to get on with people that they didn't have certain relationships with before, and divide and conquer was the tactic. You know what I'm saying, to facilitate that. But yeah, some of this, the reality. Anyway, we'll get to this later. But the reality is that there are a number of African nations that descended into civil war following so-called independence, and much of that civil war was split along so-called ethnic lines.
Would you say that any of that was by design of the former ruling classes? Would you say that's intention?
In some cases, it was definitely by design.
Any evidence for that?
Yeah, so the most stark evidence is that of Rwanda. Yeah. whereby they had, you know, the Hutu and the Tutsi,
Tutsi,
yeah. But the Hutu and the Tutsi, there's a film
Hotel
called
Rwanda.
Hotel, yeah, right, and they kind of, there's a line in the film, yeah, where they address this. What's it called? In the sense of the fact that somebody asked, there's a journalist who asks, what's the difference between Hutu and Tutsi, yeah. And basically, the answer is that there really is no difference. The Hutu and Tutsi, like as it was known then, were basically designations drawn up by the British.
I thought one of them's tall and one of them short.
Yeah, all kinds of stupidness, right? All kinds of arbitrary foolishness.
What you saying?
Yeah?
They ain't true now.
No,
They don't genetically look different. One of them are tall people.
No, they're basically the same people. Yeah, that's just what I'm saying, right? But they drew this split, yeah, between them, and so now you've got two separate so-called tribes that were basically created by the British and now are warring with each other. But what happened was and I forget which way around it goes, so forgive me. But what it was is that under colonialism, the British gave favor to one over the other. Yeah, so let's say for argument's sake, and it might not be this way around, but let's say for argument's sake, when it was colonialism, they made an elite class out of the Hutu.
Okay.
Yes, but then when colonialism ended,
they put them in positions of governance and things like that.
Yeah, right. But when colonialism ended, they gave the same power that they curry favored the Tutsi over the Hutu. So now the Tutsi are in power, yeah, and have faced discrimination by the Hutu. So but now those who are were discriminated against now have the power to discriminate against those who are discriminated against them. Divide and rule situations manifest into a mass civil war in which millions of people killed.
And what was Britain's response to that while that was happening, or afterwards? What was they doing in the meantime?
So,
was there any benefit? Was there any benefit for them from that, like financially or resource wise or anything like that?
Yeah. So I don't basically Rwanda is Central Africa, isn't it? Yeah, it's resource rich, right? I couldn't tell you the specifics of the resources, but let's just say that it's next to Congo. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, there's all kinds of metals there, you know what I'm saying, diamonds and all kinds of different things.
But I'm saying while they was beefing after the British left, was the British still like there economically?
So yes, but in the form of companies. But as well, as we were talking about earlier, in a lot of these conflicts, they sent the UN in. The United Nations in.
Yeah.
So oftentimes the role of the United Nations, because they're not supposed to get involved in internal conflict in internal conflicts, they play a very underhanded role in a lot of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like in when they went to the UN was sent to Congo when Lumumba was on the run. Yeah. And they said they couldn't get involved. Basically, the UN facilitated the murder of Lumumba.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know,
I heard a lot of foul stories about the UN still. I heard there was a raping woman in even like on a couple of the Somali corners that I was telling man, them UN.
Yeah, book fam. Them man, they are fully booked. But you know, they're not no peacekeeping troops around here. You get me?
And 1977. Prime Minister Smith began to make plans to establish a new government with a majority of black leaders.
A COE.
Yeah.
There's a video that one of the guys gave me a link to called Pleb. What can I give you and you could play? I think it's an independent guy. His name's what's his name? I just saw the video. I would like to see it. It's called Academic Agent. It's about the economic policies that ruin Zimbabwe. Now, you know, you could have a look at that. You see what I'm saying? I haven't seen the video before in my life, so you know, you could play it out. But you know, this is the thing though, Contact. I just want to say this before I'll give you the link. Do you want the link? And then you could play it on your show, innit? Because you know, you don't really care about this channel like that.
I said I don't really care about this channel. Why not? Why don't care?
No, I mean,
you don't waste my time.
If it gets us, you're prepared for this. You know, you're prepared for it on this one. You know what I mean? It's not your. you know, you could give it a try, play it, or I'll play it, or whatever.
No, I'm trying to start as I continue to go on though. Still,
Let me give you the link anyway.
Hmm.
Because you know what you gotta understand here is that when we're dealing with these great brothers, right? It's like Gaddafi. It's hard to find out the information on how Gaddafi was running his system. Like the other day, I found out that Iran are giving free electricity and water to Iraq. You understand? Yeah, you have to. Then I had to go and look for the information because it was a guy from Iraq who told me that. You understand? On the street. So what it is that a lot of information, like the good things that these people are doing or the good parts of his policy, you're not gonna find out. Was just putting out negativity towards brother Robert Mugabe. You know what I mean? So like I said, we have to be. It's dangerous, and me, I go with what Allah tells me. You see what I'm saying? My math and science, and I just you know what I mean. So certain of the things I would say you could say speculation, but with Mugabe, there ain't no one that's gonna have unless you're from the country, you worked in it. Like who's gonna care enough to have the knowledge of Zimbabwe off by their head in 2019? You see what I mean? Not saying that it isn't something that we should care about, but there's not a lot of guys who are gonna break their back to make sure they got knowledge and know that. And if you're getting it from the beast, he's not gonna give you the full truth. He's gonna say it was Mugabe who ran the country into the ground. You get me?
so you saying this academic agent brother ain't the beast, no?
No, I don't know. Like it's the independent. Yeah, but look. I don't know every white person in the world, brother. So you see what I'm saying? So I don't. It would be ignorant for me to say every white man's a devil.
But the rule. But you saying is the rule that they are the devil, and the exception is that you might find one or two that ain't.
It would be ignorant for me to say all of them are. I say that the majority of them because I've maybe found maybe a couple in my lifetime that seem to me to be righteous.
Saying two of them. Found
And
two.
I ain't got a problem. I wouldn't have a problem.
you found two righteous ones, yeah.
I think they seem righteous, but like I said, I don't know what you do behind closed doors. But they come across to me as righteous, as good people.
Yo,
You know what I mean?
content though. This sounds like it's gonna have to be a part 2, you know, because we ain't even got to the.
I know, fam. I know.
We ain't like 80 yet still.
Man's almost there. Let's try to get to 98. Let me just read up this thing real quick. Because after
cool.
guerrilla war against white rule intensifies, with so-called rivals ZANU and ZAPU operating out of Zambia and Mozambique. What you saying? They scattered to them neighboring countries, yeah? That's operating from there.
So that's where the basis of the operations were.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, basically the point is that.
And what you saying? Those countries, Zambia and Mozambique. So who was in control of those countries?
The same people, so Mugabe and Joshua and Nkomo and others. Yeah. So the point is that
they was in control of those
what
countries.
That is about is that they are. No, not in charge of the countries. No, Zambia. I forget who was the head of Zambia. At the time, Samora Machel was on the scene in Mozambique. Yeah. Yeah. But the point is that the people them. The various different nations were assisting other nations in their liberation fight. Yeah, that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they had the people that were trying to free Zimbabwe had a safe haven in Zambia and Mozambique.
Well, they was already independent in those countries there.
One second. Wait there.
All right.
Yeah. So basically, so Zambia to the north. Forgive me, I'm forgetting who was in power in Zambia. Then you have Mozambique, which was Samora Machel, was the guy, revolutionary leader. Yeah. So and then in Tanzania, because Tanzania was crucial to this as well, you had Julius Nyerere. Yeah. But there wasn't necessarily a military base in Tanzania for this particular fight.
Right, cool, man. 1978. So, 1977, Prime Minister Smith began to make plans to establish a new government with a majority of black leaders. So he's saying Ian Smith finally went backtracked on his thing. He recognized after that guerrilla warfare uprising. Like, the man
but
playing.
that's what the white man does, isn't it? Like when he realizes he might lose, he comes to the negotiating table.
And that's what the white man does, yeah.
Yeah. You know?
So,
He comes to the negotiating table.
Mad thing. 1978, Smith yields to pressure for a negotiated settlement. Elections for a transitional legislature boycotted by Patriotic Front, made up by ZANU and ZAPU.
Yeah, so basically the man then weren't on no negotiation, innit?
We say they had the taste of blood in their mouth. And
basically, yeah, there were no negotiations.
They recognize that they had the power. Especially, if I would have heard a man say that I don't never see no time at all where black people are gonna be ruling this thing, yassa. And then I see that same man there say, "Alright, cool, let's try to work this out."
Yeah, but that.
Yeah. I wonder what's made your mind change.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. I hear that still. It's a new government of Zimbabwe Rhodesia, led by Bishop Abel Mazoera, fails to gain international recognition. Civil war continues. So who was Bishop Mazoera working for?
I'm not an expert on Muzawera, so I'm not going to speak on it right now. But yeah,
I was looking at him. He looks like a Catholic. He was working with a Catholic. But yeah.
But I'm talking about on whose behalf in the region. Like was he with Zimbabwe, Mugabe and them? Or was he with ZANU and ZAPU, or was he with the British, or was he with it has to be either Ian Smith, who was against the British, but former British. Was either he was with them or he was with Mugabe and them, you get me? But I said the new government of Zimbabwe Rhodesia, led by Bishop Abel Mazoera, fails to gain international recognition. Civil war continues.
United African National Council.
He was part of what?
The UANC. So he was part of the United African National Council.
In what year was that? Does it say?
He was the one who came in after in 1971.
1971.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's unclear still who he was working for still. But yeah, 1979.
Type his name in.
Yeah. True, I got bare windows up already, man.
Okay.
Research is in the back. I'm gonna have to get some females, you know, cause they're good at this typing up and researching, you know. Yo, females. What I mean?
Yeah, I've got a thingy bob right now. Yeah, I could read it anyway.
I want to know who on like in 1978 on whose behalf was he the establishing a new government of Zimbabwe Rhodesia. Well, from it says Zimbabwe Rhodesia, that looks like it must have been.
It says on the 3rd. It says on the 3rd of March, Mazoria, Sitol, and other non-exiled leaders signed an agreement at Government House, Salisbury, which paved the way for the internal government, the leadership of which was an executive council made up of Mazawa, Sitol, and Jeremiah Shiru.
Who's their man there?
Along with Ian Smith. Sharu he was a Rhodesia chief, and he was the leader of the Zimbabwe United People's Organization. He was part of the ZUPO. The ZUPO. He was part of the Zimbabwe United People's Organization. Is that
cool. It looks like I made sense out of this thing still. He couldn't have been with Mugabe and them still, because Mugabe and them boycotted that.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So that was a bit that feeds into the, like I said, there's a lot of negotiations and people making deals and rah. At this stage, man, them weren't on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For the most part. So yeah, as I understand
That
it,
was Smith negotiating. He said Smith yields to pressure for a negotiated settlement, and obviously that all that settlement argument from before, that was with the British. He was trying to negotiate that, but now Bishop Mazoera, he's in the negotiation thing as well. But it was felt the agreement, whatever they came to between him and Smith, it was failed to gain international recognition. Civil war continues. I think that might be because ZANU and ZAPU boycotted the
are
thing
still
still.
fighting. Yeah.
So 1979, British brokered all-party talks at Lancaster House in London, led to a peace agreement and a new constitution, which guarantees minority rights. Cool. The Lancaster House Agreement. I heard that this the details of this agreement has never been disclosed. I don't know what's the you heard anything about that?
No.
I tried to look and I never see the actual what man's actually signing to, because apparently this is where ZANU and ZAPU, them man, like they made an agreement, innit? Like they like, yeah,
Oh,
cool.
I missed what you said. So basically, this is the formation of ZANU PF now. Yeah.
Okay.
So but basically, so the reason why they're saying that the details were never disclosed, yeah. So basically, what it was is that Mugabe called Joshua and Koma to the table, yeah, and they basically agreed to merge ZANU and ZAPU together as ZANU PF, yeah. But they didn't disclose what the details of the agreement were. Now what the common narrative says, that basically Mugabe used that as a tool to co-opt and then neutralize the power of ZAPU, basically,
Okay.
because he emerged as the principal leader. You know what I'm saying? At that time.
He was given more recognition by the
Basically,
international community.
yeah. Right. So, but the essential point here is that this was the two strongest factions in this in this revolutionary war, in this military armed rebellion,
Fighting on behalf of the people.
coming together to make an agreement, to form a truce, basically, and unify for the purpose of liberating Zimbabwe.
All right, 1979. Yo,
I beg you send me a link of what you're reading out, bro.
all right, one sec.
I want to see what is you reading, bro.
One sec. Let me slap that in the chat.
I commend the way you're trying to break this, go into this thing thorough. But with these type of things, brother, it's a bag of lies. I'm just saying, most of the stuff that comes out on these, brother. Do you agree with that, Shaka?
There's lies, there's truth, and there's truth in the lies, and lies in the truth.
Right.
And you just got to sift through it all.
But yo, Abel, this is my point though. I ain't saying to take anything what man's saying as gospel. I'm saying let's look at the evidence that's presented, and hold it up to all of the other evidence that we already know of ourselves, and any other new information that may be out there that we ain't researched. I'm saying the more information, the more angles we look at the whatever it is we're trying to make sense of from, the clearer the picture becomes. You get me? If we just look at something from just one side, or just air one side's argument about something, then that's all we got in it. But
right. I like this site that you're getting your information from. Sweet.
You click the link.
I've seen this one. Yeah. I like where you're getting your information.
Why is that?
Which one?
Why do you like it?
So it looks like independent, and someone's really thought through before. It's not like some Wikipedia stuff. You know what I mean?
Looks like an independent and somebody thought through.
Yeah. It looks like it's well thought. It's a Zimbabwe website, so I'm sure that I've got more trust for this. Yeah.
But this is what I'm talking about. I'm saying don't trust them. I'm saying don't trust nobody, fam. Do your research far.
I like this. I'm just saying I like it. Yeah, I'm just saying I like what you're reading from still. Actually going to see it, you know what I mean? I like it. Go on, brother.
All right, cool. See that. But yeah, everybody be critical minded. Don't take nothing I'm saying as gospel. I'm just reading out I don't trust this thing. I'm letting you know that from the start. But I ain't got this is my only source right now. You get me? Until I check it against other sources, I'm gonna go and look for them Zimbabweans. Are you call the Zimbabwe
Right.
people?
So family. This I was trying to find one of the sources of the information for on Muzawera.
Yeah.
And so one of the main books that has informed my thing on Zimbabwe is this book called Zimbabwe, Racism and the Land Question by an elder from Zimbabwe called D. Gazi. So he's in the belly, yeah. So as in the Shona in the belly, he's in the belly, and he says, at independence, African demand.
Sorry, when he said in the belly, I thought you meant like in the belly of the beast. You get me?
No. In the belly, the group, the people group.
Yeah, God.
But yeah. At independence, African demands went beyond the mere removal of Ian Smith. However, Britain did its best to broker a peace between Africans and Ian Smith. Yeah, so like what we were talking about earlier in terms of all this negotiation of Britain coming to Zimbabwe to negotiate this and negotiate that and settlement and whatever. That's what he's talking about, isn't it? They're trying to negotiate a peace between.
So I seem like even though Ian Smith tried to break away from them, they would prefer him to be in control over the native
and us to be right. So that what's it called? So it says between Africans and Ian Smith, that would be based on just that. The removal of Ian Smith with everything else remaining in place. Muzawera was helped into power and Rhodesia became Zimbabwe Rhodesia. So that was actually a name that they were proposing as the official name for the nation. Yeah,
they definitely wanted to add on to the Rhodesia thing.
Yeah, right. So and it goes on. The name stank to high heaven, but the British sense of smell was dulled by colonial arrogance. Mm-hmm. Zimbabwe Rhodesia was a sick joke, and the people of Zimbabwe saw through the silliness of it all. And Muzawera and his country, with two names, were given short shrift by the voters in the very first ever democratic elections in 1980. The
people them didn't recognize Muzawera as one of their own.
And what they were trying to do there, yeah. The fact that many Western governments and the white electorate of Rhodesia even entertained the possibility of a Muzawera victory is a measure of their ignorance of the African and his politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right then. All right, cool. Let me continue with the timeline. 1979, British broke rule party. April, elections resulted in a majority of black leaders. April, Abel T. Muzawera becomes first black prime minister. The 31st of May, Zimbabwe proclaimed independence. The 1st of June, the nation of Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, was formed. It come like they skipped out bare crucial details of how that went from Muzawera becoming prime minister and the name. Just like you don't even say that it's gone from Zimbabwe Rhodesia.
So there were obviously years they skipped some stuff. Yeah.
Man's on 1980 now still. Veteran pro-independence leader Robert Mugabe and his ZANU party with British supervised independence elections win British supervised independence elections. Mugabe is named prime minister and includes ZAPU leader Joshua Nkomo in his cabinet. Independence on 18th of April is internationally recognized and Rhodesia's name was officially changed to Zimbabwe. That confused me still, Kai. It says the nation of Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, was formed on 1979. But then it says 1980 the name was internationally recognized as
so when the people them name themselves or when the rest of the world recognizes them, it's not often the same thing.
Okay. All right then. Yeah, so it says Mugabe is prime minister and includes ZAPU leader Joshua Nkomo in his cabinet. Independence is internationally recognized. Right. Canaan Banana becomes first president and serves until 1987 when he is succeeded by Mugabe. I heard that when that Canaan banana brother become president, he made a rule that no one can't take the piss out of his name. You ever hear about that before?
No, no, but still.
I think who did I hear? I think I heard it on what's the woman that you bring down to Speaker's Corner? I think I heard it on her show.
Dr. Mumbi.
Yeah, it's either her show or the South African president. I heard him say it.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he said they can't take the piss out of man's name still. That's one rule. Yo, that right.
What would would you say? I believe that he was killed, poisoned or something. And then, well, as I'm reading through those timelines as well, there's something interesting at the end, you know.
Come and get there. Yeah.
But
you know, I'm gonna have to duck soon though.
I know. We in 1980 now still. You said they are cut out at 1980 still.
No, I'm just saying we have to continue the part 2 because it gets complicated at this point, innit?
Mm-hmm.
And like to get into, because now we're gonna get Lancaster House.
Yeah. Hopefully, Uncle Dan Drummer's in the park tomorrow, and we can order.
I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna try and come early, yeah, like 2-3 in it, so that we can form some, you know what I mean, some talk around this thing. Assuming that I don't get swamped by disgruntled white Berbers.
Shit, I like. It's been 2 weeks still. That topic is a hot trending topic right now still.
Yeah, man will do with it if them want to have a conversation. But yeah, this is an important topic as well.
Also, man wanted to talk about South Africa as well still. Man wanted
yes,
to talk about that still.
Very serious business.
You get me?
Yeah.
But yeah, saying that on them, man, yeah, car for real, man, I'm gonna wake up early and go down to the corner myself still, so right now it's 23 minutes past.
But no, I'm not even saying this because of that, but I just know that when we get to 1980, things get complex, my G. We ain't really got time to go into them proper. You get me? Because we'll be here till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Saying that, man, we continue on, man. But yeah, man, like I said, respect for everybody coming on the show and everybody who's followed over from the other channel into this one. It's a new channel, man, trying to run the thing. But yeah, the spirit of these conversations, as always, is intended to establish facts. Though that's what I want to do. I want to establish facts based upon evidence that can be checked upon. You get me? Not so much emotion. Like obviously, man's emotional people, and man's human, innit? I want to use our emotions to celebrate and party when we got victory. You get me? In the meantime, I want to base all of our strategy planning on solid evidence. You get me? All of our claims and conversations, what we're discussing, I want it to all be factually based. You get me? And with as little speculation as necessary. You get me? Truth over everything. Still,
and something though before you lock it off.
Dear thing.
I believe that Robert Mugabe was poisoned. I know that he was an old man. People gonna say that, but I don't know what he was doing in Singapore, looking for health. You understand?
All of that man want to get into as well. Still,
I'm sure man could have got some herbs, some herbal remedy, in South Africa and in Zimbabwe. That man's well educated. I'm sure that he could have got a leaf. Easily gone in a bush and gone and got something. So I'm saying, I believe, that the Chinese must have had something to do with it. I remember a few years ago, Mugabe didn't really want them man there up and down in the country doing certain things. You see what I'm saying? And them man there tried to get him out. You understand? Now they're trying to play all cool like they're friends and that, cause I see on the internet it says that they were mourning them. But I know that they didn't really have a good relationship. Mugabe, he saw the Chinese from a mile off. So, you know what I mean? And it's funny he died in Singapore, a Chinese-run country, you know what I mean?
What happened to the story of, who was it? Was it to him or was it Libya or both of them? I swear he shipped in that there was reports of when Morgan Tsvangirai was trying to run for president or prime minister, whatever it is, that the Chinese supposed to have sent in PR machine to Mugabe, you get me, to suppress that. I don't know if you heard anything about that.
And what's his name? He was backed by the I think he's backed by the
I'm
Labour
saying, but
Party.
the reason I'm saying that
Nah,
is to show that it looked like
Labour Party.
China was in
That's
support of it.
It's Labour.
That's why I'm saying like it's gonna go into things. The MDC was established here fundamentally by white people in Zimbabwe, as backed by the Westminster Foundation, which is made up of all of the three major parties in this country.
Okay.
So it weren't just the Labour Party; it was the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats. They all funded the creation of the movement for democratic change. But family, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna get complex.
Everyone say the closing statements still.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna
wrap
ask,
up.
do you like, believe that I believe he was killed? What do you like, believe? Do you think that he was killed?
I don't know nothing about no poisoning, so I can't speak to that. There is a theory though that every death under white supremacy is a murder. So yeah, so even if you trip and bust your head on a rock, you know what I mean. White supremacy created the circumstances for it.
They placed the rock
So,
there.
Yeah. You know, so
and they use harp technology to make a strong wind push
that's
behind
right.
him.
Yeah. You know, so so yeah. You get me. So my answer to that is I don't know enough about the circumstances of his death to speak on it.
Yeah, I don't care what type of autopsy they come out with. I believe they poisoned that man, and I believe that if what he was doing in Singapore, looking for medical attention. Cause I see some people, black people, saying that he messed up the healthcare so much. Yeah, I don't know if they're black or whatever. But I see people saying that he messed up the healthcare so bad he had to go to Singapore for healthcare. And I'm saying a man as educated as him would have known that all he has to do is get some bush, and he can kill his bruv. So I believe that they must have lured him out there to Singapore and poisoned the old man. Plus, because of his age, you can easily say it's old age he died of. You see what I'm saying? That's why I believe they killed him anyway. That's what I believe.
Indeed. Well, let's give tax for life anyway. If I live to 95 years old, I give tax for those 95 years still, you know?
Yeah, big thanks still.
So we give thanks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yes, family, give thanks so content, you know what I mean, for keeping the conversation flowing.
The greatest black leader of my era, that of my my life that I've ever seen. Yeah, a black man that stood up. I would say it's him, then Khalid Muhammad.
I thought you were talking about me when you said the greatest black leader.
What?
I thought you were talking about me when you said the greatest black leader of your life.
Talking about Robert, bro. The biggest black man that I've seen in my lifetime, and then Khalid Muhammad. I would just say second.
You might have started the next conversation.
Man said you, man, you know.
Thing, bro.
Say nothing, man. Tomorrow, man. Tomorrow, hopefully, I see you man down there. I say inshallah in Bantu language, fam.
Kana Mwariada. That's Shona for if it pleases the creator.
Kana
Mwariada.
Kana Mwadiada.
Mwariada.
Mwaliada.
Yeah, something like that. You nearly there.
Kana Mwaliada. Right now we say 10 9 Mwari.
Right business, everybody.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yes, sir. Listen.
Respect. What you saying, Abel? You in the park tomorrow?
Yeah, man.
We saying burning fire on the beast. Damn devil.
I've been
You have gone, fam. You have gone.
Say that, brother. Say that tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Listen.
I'm gonna ask Abel. I'm gonna ask Abel two questions before I bounce. Still.
All right, cool.
About the beast, you get me? Yeah, go on. Abel, yeah, go on, fam. What's he saying? What's he saying?
About what?
Burning fire on the beast.
Yeah, I've been thinking of just coming out, just being, you can get some conversations. Is the show still on?
Yeah. Man, gonna wrap up like in any second after you're done. Still.
Yeah, man. Anything that I go on in it, like I'm saying, like like I've been trying to, any conversation. If a white man's got a problem with the white man being the devil or anything, I'm down for discussing that, bro. You know what I mean? If you can, I'm sure you can line that up. Yeah. Get lined up for me, you get me, brother? Because
What you saying? What's your
I've been feeling out the place, and I just feel like
what's your position on the old white man's the devil thing? Where you stand on that?
Well, I believe that the majority of them, most definitely, my brother, serve as the goddamn beast and the devil of the beast of the field. in this time, the devil. But you know, I would say it's based upon an inclination. Now I don't know every white person on the planet, and I have met.
Where you get that inclination from?
What do I get that inclination from?
Oh,
Well, because of their works, isn't it? Their deeds, and the fact that they don't care about, you know, what's going on across the world and what's going on to other people outside of their nation. You know, the selfishness, the sheer selfishness that I see from them. You know what I mean? Now they start caring because now their pockets are getting hit and they're worried about the immigrants taking their jobs. I feel like they don't really care about the black man, yeah, the anti-immigrants, because we play our role as bottom of the society. If we had businesses and stuff like that, they would hate. I think a lot of the Islamophobia is because against Muslims, Asian Muslims specifically, is because you know they own a lot of business. You know they own a lot of shops and stuff. They're very good, you know, entrepreneur. And I think that kind of frightens the white man as well. You know, he got that jealousy. I feel a lot of that is jealousy and hate. You see,
yeah. A man in the comments said, "We are all devils: black, white, brown, yellow."
well, I'd say that my people are wicked, but it's a learned behavior. And when my people do work against us, we're doing it to feed our families. Maybe some of us are too greedy with it. You know, like your Jay Z's, your Barack Obamas.
We say when white people do it,
Your David
it's their innate genetic behavior.
Most definitely, bro.
My
It,
thing.
it's a genetic behavior. You know what I mean? But like I said, I don't know every white person on the earth. So,
You met
like
two.
I said,
You met two good ones.
yeah, I've seen from afar. I've seen a few, and like
They might be good. You don't even know if they're good.
when in the block that I live in, yeah, I come back and I got a bag of shopping. Yeah, sometimes the devil that lives in my place will help me with my shopping to the lift. Yeah. So you know they do show some good, you know what I mean. So like I said, there's a few of them that show some good
Check Jordan genetic behavior. Hey Jordan, what are you saying? You want to have this conversation in the park with Abel, the white devil? Oh shit,
Jordan. Oh.
Jordan,
What
them man.
understands that? I'm sure that Jordan, as a man of truth, should understand. Unless the white man deals with Islam, he's always gonna be wicked, man. Like that, they need Islam.
I think he said he used to be anti-Islam still. I ain't gonna say wicked. He definitely used. He said he used to be anti-Islam before um he turned into a Muslim. You get me?
As a man of truth, as Jordan should be, yeah, I'm sure that he can see that his people are demented. That his people are, yeah, they're demented, and to we're in a time where they're so wicked. Some of them, they blame the victims. They blame us for being, you know, having the you know, we're talking about how society's against us, you know, some of our people, and they say we're victims. They call it victim Olympics. How do you make that work?
Victim Olympics is when
When a
there's
rich man boasts about the latest car that he's getting and stuff like that, you ain't got no name for that. You know what I mean?
victim Olympics is when there's more than one set of people um saying how hard they got it.
Right. But I'm saying, how do you make that work? How does the victim become the problem
Yeah.
when we can see
We
the
saying
problem?
is devilish. Malcolm X said that they make the victim look like the perpetrator and the perpetrator look like the victim. So
Exactly.
So is that what you're saying? That's what they're doing. They're trying to shame man into not saying that they're a victim if they're a victim.
Yeah, and then live in the same fuckery situation and not try to talk up for yourself. That's what basically what it is. Like where I work, I don't even want to. I would never say certain things, you know, because I don't. You know, I feared to be shunned. Like when I was younger, I feared to say the oppression that was going on around white folks and stuff like that. I was scared to say, you know, I didn't want to be looked upon as how they would say a black brother who speak that I thought was speaking the truth. Yeah. But you know, I was feared because you know, I didn't like those kind of victim names that they're calling me.
You say
You know,
now you don't business.
no, I don't care no more because obviously with years and experience, I know it ain't no fluke. What's going on? You see what I'm saying? It's all organized. But like I said, I like Jordan, and I don't really want to have that. Like I said, I'll discuss with him.
Oh, you wanna have the conversation with someone who you think is an actual devil?
Like I don't. Yeah. Well, like you have to pass my test, innit? You know what I mean? Like for me to, that I've got a list of questions that I'll give people, white folks, before for me to analyze them. Like for me, when I see a black person misbehaving, I see it as learned behavior at the end of the day, and they might not agree with that. They might think that they're wicked as well, but I believe our behaviors, we call it learned behavior, and based upon stereotypes that they push in the media. You see what I'm saying?
So would you say that in that sense, those people there that's continuing learned behavior has got a weakness within themselves that they're susceptible to, instead of that copying what is bad behavior. I mean, instead of rejecting what they acknowledge to be bad behavior, that they follow the bad example. Would you say that that's a weakness?
Well, it's again, we went through the drug era. A lot of us went through the drug era. A lot of us came up. Um, well, I can't say a lot of us, the majority of us, but a lot of our community, the ones that are doing the bad stuff on the street, came from broken homes. They weren't raised right. I wasn't raised right. You get me? I'm not gonna deny that I wasn't raised right.
Hmm.
See what I'm saying? How I should have been raised compared to how I saw. Like when I was going to school, white kids would be like, that was in my class. They would be like um in the next book ahead of me. We would be doing mathematics, and they'll be well ahead of me. Like the things that the teacher's saying, they already know. I'm just learning it in the class. Do you get me?
Hmm.
My parents weren't putting me onto, you know what I'm saying, onto the work. You know what I mean? They were raised right. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Their parents was making sure that they would stay ahead of the game. Do you understand? No one was trying to make sure that I stayed ahead of the game.
Why is that?
Yeah, because I weren't raised right, innit? I said I'm not gonna
Okay.
deny. And a lot of black people, well, we weren't raised right, innit?
Well, you saying that's systematic though?
Myself. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you ain't got no mother and father, or you ain't got no father in the house. Do you see what I'm saying? Or your parents ain't educated. Also, can happen from your parents not being very book smart themselves. You see what I'm
And,
saying? So
and, and, would you say the reason that things are that way is is
by design, yes, because the drugs and the crack got put in our communities
now, but
first.
I'm saying even if that is by design, what I'm always looking at it like, what can I do to make sure that my situation is as close to how I want it to be as possible, regardless of what other people are trying to do to me. Obviously, man ain't like invincible and immune to attacks from every angle. You get me? But
Right, right,
at the end of the day, I'm a human being that's trying to survive,
right,
and there's other beings out there in existence that's trying to survive in it. So
right.
if we all exist in the same area and we got ambitions for this area, as Malcolm X said, fam, by any means necessary, man's got to make man's got to make the like. I'm like raw. Instead of being shaped by man's environment, I'm trying to shape my environment. You get me? I'm more that mentality. You get me? Let me do what I can do, because it's whether man like it or not, it's like a competition, isn't it? If somebody else is on the same ends as me, and they want to make the ends and decorate it and make it the way they want it to run, and I want it to make it to run the way I want it to run.
Right.
How it's going to run is determined by who's more either smart or powerful or more fortunate. I don't know, whatever it is, man. But man got to do as much as man can to be take like responsibility for the way things are. You get me? Like man has to make it the way man want it to be. You get me? Like Garvey said, like even got like one of the best lines that I heard from Garvey. What I rate the most is that if man can't do what other races have done for themselves, then man better just lay down and die in it. You know, like that. Man better just lay down and die. Man's a race of cowards and imbeciles. Like idiots, good for nothing. Garvey said that. That was Garvey's words, you get me? Because like raw, like man, true stories, fam. Why is like any other race in a position that we're envious of, as if we can't do what anybody else is doing? You know what I'm saying?
I
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
I would say this year that every man should just look after that. Best thing for us as people, black people, is for us to look after our own, right? First. Like if you have a say for example, all right, you're all right, you're looking after your kids, but if you know that your brother isn't looking at spending time with his son for whatever reason, try to bridge that. Make sure that he stays in his child's life and try to be a uncle stroke dad. Try and if he because sometimes a man, especially black men in society, they're broken because they ain't got money, they ain't got finances and stuff like that.
Mm.
So what we can do, that's if that's our brother or something like that, we can help. If we can help him be in that child life, but if he doesn't want to be in his son's life, you try and keep the seat warm for him. You know what I'm saying? So like I
Yeah,
said,
man have to look after man's family still, most definitely. I'm
right,
fully for
and
that
that's
first,
what we're not
first and
doing.
foremost.
Yeah, that's these are things that we're not doing.
Because if man don't look after man's family, then man's just open in it. Man's just out there. Like that's what you see. What's happening on the road? That's what I think. Anyway, that's what's happening on the road. Anyway, like, enough for the youth them are running around without guidance, like moving like headless chickens out there. You get me? And no one ain't taking responsibility for them. Like the people them that made them ain't taking responsibility for them as much as they should be anyway. And then the next in line is like, raw, I didn't make the youth, so why am I gonna rear? But then it's like it's family, same way, you get me? I mean, man, you can't choose your family still, but if you don't look after your family, fam, it's gonna like I feel like it will turn around and bite man in the arse still. So it's best man try take up some type of responsibility in it. Instead of going around breeding bare gal, look after the gal them who's got bare youths. They get me, go and hold down a girl who's got youths and try give her some guidance to get me.
I me and my fam, my brothers and sisters, that we got I didn't have a perfect, my parents weren't about that, but I had uncles and aunties who could have helped, stepped in, but they never. You
Mm.
understand? And if they did that, I could have been further. Do you understand? I could have been, what I mean, more productive for people outside. You get
Mm.
me?
I hear
But
you
right
still.
now, I'm just handling my own. You get me?
Yeah.
So
You know what man have to do as well. What
I wake up from the programming.
yeah. Not only that, man have to ensure that man don't continue the spiral, the cycle in it.
Yeah, I broke the cycle. You get me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
So it's like man have to have more responsibility. Like, I always tell people I want my youth to be better. They're supposed to be better versions than me. You get me?
saying? Right.
Like the next generation has to be better, fam. We want them to be like, in Jamaica, we got some like this what makes me think that like this is evidence of the slavery days and all them things. Cause we got some like it's embedded in man's psychology, fam. Man got some backwards ways, fam. Where if a you is doing something, if a you's asking too many questions or annoying a parent in that way, I think it's a good thing for you to ask questions. I encourage you to ask questions still. But a Jamaican might say, as a Jamaican, so I'm not dissing Jamaicans in like as if I'm not one of them. But a Jamaican might tell you you're too bright. Are you gonna tell you that you're too bright? You're supposed to want you to be smarter than you. That's a blessing.
Right.
Because one day the you're supposed to take over the reins and take more responsibility than you've ever took in your life and look after you and do good by you, and then the next generation increase their intelligence. But
Right. And that's I always attack. And I started to pull back, on Jamaica, on my own culture, because I just don't like our culture, man. I don't like the stuff that we glorify as Jamaicans, man.
it's
I
not
don't like
that's what I'm saying, fam. There's nuance to the thing though still, because at the same time, there's Rastafari, you get me? And Rasta can tell you to embrace your natural self and
right.
be proud of who you are, and you don't fall in a slackness. You get me?
But remember, the Rastas in Jamaica are to be respected when it comes down to a street thing, because you know, like a lot of the guys that used to do the gun stuff, used to do wicked shit. They turn Rasta, most of them, like in Jamaica, like in England, most of the guys who used to be on the streets hard banging, they turn Muslim in this country. You see what I'm saying? The blacks. So like they're more respected in Jamaica because of their, you know, they got a street cred. Like most of the Rastas that are in my family that I know in Jamaica, they will kill you at the same hand. Like they'll talk all this righteousness, but they will kill you if you play with it.
I wouldn't say most of them, you know, car ain't gonna front more, like I ain't been Jamaica in a long time still, but more time when I go there, there's some rastas that man stay with still. And when I do my research, you can even look online and see a bag of videos of the rastas, them in the hills and all them things there.
Right.
Not for them ain't like on a bad man thing. It's more they're what's the word? They're assertive, but on a righteous thing though.
Right.
They don't accept no bad man trying to run them. They want to do righteousness, you get me? And they defend their righteousness with the same vigor that a bad man would defend his badness, you get me? And that's the attraction to enough use them when they wanna be Rasta. Like,
Right.
Are you can see when they can acknowledge and recognize the traits of cowardice versus the traits of bravery, you get me?
Right.
Regardless of it, I might not have to pick up a gun and box somebody or bully somebody to emulate or to resonate power and authority, you get me? The rush, not for the Rastas, them they hold their head high and exalt things like having responsibility over your family and making sure that everyone's well-being is good and being good to your neighbors, and but they do it. They don't do it with like a passive. Be good, everyone. Be good and love each other. And they stand firm with that. They're like, nah, love runs the thing over here. Man don't tolerate no arms out, so no fuckery. We don't like no John Crow. Nobody coming and trying to deceive people. Man, fight against that. You get me? So.
Right. Well, you got different kinds, you know. Like I said,
different kinds too.
In my family, they more bad man, innit? That they used to be bad man.
There's a few bad man and all that as well. There's enough bad man who respect Rasta as well. That ain't Rasta themselves, you get me? But they respect Rasta because they see that man's trying to do their own thing. They ain't trying to log on to anybody else's religion. That they see that raw. Man's coming from a place where man's been displaced. Man's in Jamaica where man ain't even supposed to be, first of all.
Right.
And man's striving to self-define, you get me?
Right.
They're trying to make sense of man's self through man's own understanding rather than abandoning, like obviously in Jamaica as well, the history of the country goes that anything black was looked down upon. Like I said, we got a backwards mentality from where to this day people still bleach their skin and all them thing there. That will come from, to me, that's all evidence of that slavery was a real thing over there, you get me? And
that come from the Chinese and the Indians, you know.
Say again?
That stuff comes from the Chinese and the Indians.
What's that? What stuff?
The bleaching. You're not saying that we don't have a complex issue, a complexion issue in us mentally, but I'm saying a lot of those products come from China, Chinese and the Indians.
Are you talking about the actual products?
Yeah, the products.
I'm talking about the desire to want to
that desire in us. Yeah. I said that desire, but I'm saying when you bring in the products that's coming from these people as well, the Indians and the Chinese, it's just dread, isn't it? It's just horror.
So I'm saying, raw. Yeah, right now, man, trying to drop out still.
So like I say, man, everyone just as black people, just look after your family, look after your own. That's the main thing. It don't make no sense trying to follow. Because at the end of the day, if we as black people wanted to change everything, we could. If we could just come together, it would be all done in a day. If we came together and we had the same mindset, we wanted the same thing for one day, we could end all of this in a day. That's a killer thing. But because we can't come together, we can't put our differences aside, yeah, not even for a day, then, you know, we're still stuck in it. Doesn't even take no plan. It's just a matter of us just coming together and saying, well, we don't want to be here no more. Let us go. That's it.
Yeah, G, what I'm saying. You saying you're rolling part tomorrow, yeah? What time are you reaching?
I probably reached there about 4 or 5.
See you later.
Just got something to do in the morning. But yeah, like I said, anyone wants to discuss that, we can discuss. But like I said, I'm not saying that every white man, but if a white man wants to see if he's the devil, I'll ask him a row of questions, and I know that you're gonna be trying to, you know, keep, you know, that I feel that any white man that's against immigration, yeah, and you're against immigration in terms of you're saying, oh well, I only want immigrants in a country if you're saying you only want immigrants in a country that can do something, you're a devil, because those people could have been staying in their own country and build up their own country. So you want to take the best from other people's countries and bring them here. When you've got education system and everything, you could teach people and make them, you know, get them to that level that you need them at. You understand? So that's devilish. If you're saying that you don't want no poor people, you just want their best. Like if you've got a skill, you can come to this country. You're a goddamn devil. And if you're anti-immigrant, like if you're anti-immigration, you should be banging on your goddamn foreign policy first, because it's because of your foreign policy why people have to come over here for a better life. And that's a trick in itself, immigration and asylum seeking, because the beast knows that if he keeps them in the country and these people are still living in the shit that they're living in, which they're trying to escape, that's why they're coming to the UK, right? Eventually it's just a matter of time before it'll be harder for them to be tapping into their resources and not paying them what they should be paying them. You see what I'm saying? So that's why they allow all the in and out. They have to keep it going. The beast has to keep on bringing in immigrants in and out, or the people will get dissatisfied in their own country, and then it will be harder for the beast to take their resources. That's why he's got this immigrations going on around the world.
We done a whole show on immigration in the identity politics forum. Should have been there still.
What?
Should have been there. We done a show on that immigration in the identity politics forum.
Okay. I mean, and again, that is what you could. Allah told me this, yeah, and you know, there ain't no book that's gonna tell you stuff that I say. Ain't no book. I'm just going by what I see. You get me? And what Allah told me, and Allah told me that that's the reason why the beast allows immigration. You see what I'm saying?
Same.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, you ain't gonna tell. I don't want anyone to tell me, well, what book have you got that in? No, that's what Allah told me, bro. You know what I mean? Based upon my experiences on this planet, certain things just come up, tell me. You know, as soon as I hear certain things, I know what what the beast is trying to do. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I believe that the beast allows why we have all this mad immigration coming in and out of England, and even from Africa, places like Nigeria. Why the Nigeria probably got the most, and Congo. Them two countries have got the most resources on the planet. So you have to keep them brothers trying to get out and allow them to get out and go into other countries and stuff like that. Because if the Nigerian black brothers had nowhere else to go, he would rise up against the beast and say, what the fuck are you coming in my country for and taking the resources, and we live in poor? He ain't gonna have it. So he has to because really they're just sucking out all their best. That's why they like the brain drain. That's a way of the brain drain is a way of the beast taking out the educated ones. You see what I'm saying? The ones that could have been on a revolution if they stayed in their country, yeah, but he lets them come over here, give him a job, and westernize him. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Him staying in his country, and because he's so intelligent, He might be a doctor. He might be thinking, you know what? We need to do for ourselves. You see what I'm saying? It's a matter of time before that intelligent man, after working 20 years as a doctor or a teacher in his country, and he says, you know what? You know who's the problem? It's the goddamn British. That's why they have to bring in this fake independence. And now the independence game's getting fake now. That's why they're bringing in the Chinese to recolonize African countries and Caribbean countries. They ain't no, listen, they ain't no proof of it again, but there's a little things that I see in history that make me feel like I believe that the Chinese are under the control of the Jews and the European powers, man. Because like I said, if the Queen owns Africa, a lot of the African countries and the Caribbean are under the British Commonwealth, under the Queen, right? So for the Chinese to be able to build roads and shit in those countries, yeah, they would have had to sign. The Queen must have signed off on it, because you can't just go and build up things in Jamaica like that. You have to ask the Queen. You get me? So they must have gone through even though they're paying Jamaica. You see what I'm saying? But they're paying them politicians. You see what I'm saying? But there's some sort of. I'm telling you, the British are behind the Chinese, bro. It's just another way to recolonize us, but they're using the Chinaman to do it this time. You see what I'm saying? Because the independence thing, we've seen that the independence thing is fake. For a good last 30 years, man's been saying this ain't no real independence. All my life going to Jamaica and back for the last 30 years, all I've heard is people arguing over this independence. Some people saying we should go back with the Queen, and some saying I fake independence. You see what I'm saying? In Jamaica, that is. And every country we can see some fake independence. Because no one who's it's so-called independent has got wealth or anything. They're all still third world countries. You see what I'm saying?
Yo, right now, I'm seeing what the back of my eyelids are saying still.
Yeah. So I'm in you, blessed brothers and sisters. And
Tomorrow, I link man in the parking.
all right, brother. Peace. Oh, good night, man.
Yeah,
Have a
yeah.
good
Hey, you remember what Shaka said out to say bye in Shola?
man. I forgot that, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
I should try to learn some languages, but I ain't even got the languages is very takes a lot of work. You know what I mean? That takes a lot of work.
Tomorrow we talk about, man. Yeah, peace, brother. I'm gone.
Yeah, man.
Respect,
Peace.
fam. Love, man.
Respect.
Yeah, I like that. Peace to everybody in the chat, man. Tomorrow we in the park. I'm gonna try to get there a bit earlier as well, you know, car. I have to sort out some things a bit early. So yeah, respect for everybody for coming on the new channel. Peace, we out, man. COE. I hit that. I just saw the thing there. Tark Da Tings Dem live.